Good morning. Welcome to Daniel Weekly, episode 28. We're on April 16, 2015. There's a release for curl pending next week in 6 days. I'm behind. So we'll see how it goes with everything for that release. Let me rewind a little bit and say like this. I was away last week on a ski trip, skiing downhill with my family. Had a lot of fun, but it turned out kind of translated or transitioned into less fun adventures because I had to go to the hospital emergency room with my daughter. She's 11 years old, so I had to spend a couple of days at the hospital, and I had to extend my vacation for a couple of days, so I was even more absent from my projects and curl stuff than I intended to. Everything turned out fine. We're back here, but I'm now a bit more behind than I intended to. That was the vacation then planned. So I'm also behind on these videos then, since now it's Thursday, which is not a day that I used to do these videos. As you can see, I'm in my living room today. I have both my kids are actually sick, so they're upstairs. So I thought I'd just clear the way, let them have the upper floor for now, and I'll sit here and talk into this screen and enjoy my coffee. Hold the release for a second. I'll just go back to another topic that I wanted to discuss that I haven't mentioned, and I touched in a comment, I believe, in the former video. That's the topic about the vtls project. You know, I mentioned before, and I kind of have been on about this for a very long time, that within curl I've separated out the support for the different TLS libraries, the TLS backends that I call them, so that we can actually quite easily plug in different TLS libraries, and so just a little glue layer, and we have an internal API, so most of curl is unaware of which TLS library we're building and using. So we took this and tried to make it a separate project to see if we could make it a real vtls, kind of a virtual TLS library, since there are other potential users of this that would possibly enjoy and benefit from such a library, like wget. That's one that was perhaps the primary kind of user that we thought could take advantage of this, and also I believe the primary set of developers who joined this mailing list came from that project and from the curl project. And we tried for a while, not too long, and then people started to clone the Git tree from curl, strip out everything that it wasn't the vtls stuff, and start figuring out how should actually the proper API be for such a library. And there were some attempts and some good moves on how to do it, and then it just died. I'm not blaming anyone, because I didn't do much of this myself, and I felt that I really didn't have much time and energy to spend on this project. I have quite a few projects on my own, so sometimes I'm a little bit too eager to fire up new stuff, and then I just realize that no, I can't deal with another project, so I have to kind of push that down and focus on the ones that I really prioritize. And in general, I prioritize curl on top of basically all other projects that I do spare time. So the vtls project pretty much just stalled. Nobody said anything for over a month on the mailing list. And yet, during the time when we were discussing this vtls stuff and how to do things, we kept on developing the vtls layer within libcurl and the TLS support in all, and not all, but a large amount of the different backends. I'm just saying that it's not because of it kind of we have everything done already. It's just that we didn't get traction from enough developers with enough time and energy to work on VTLS, and in the meantime the curl stuff that did this just blew on and developed quite a lot. So it didn't really work to take off VTLS like this, and I haven't been able to work on it so much myself. So it's a bit of a I don't know. It stalled, it died, it paused. The mailing list is there. I don't think a lot more is going to happen. It's a bit unfortunate, but at the same time, it doesn't seem to be enough user desire for something like this. So then I guess things die. Anyway, I of course then, when I was away last week and then I got spent some late night mornings and around the clock in the hospital with my daughter, I of course once again perhaps gave the thoughts around what to do with curl, like in a greater scope. Should we have an umbrella organization that took care of curl? Sometimes when I'm away and I feel that I'm not paying the full attention to everything, I'm just letting things slide. Maybe we should have a better home for it than just my GitHub account and my servers and whatever. I don't know. Anyway, that's one thought, and then I've been recently thinking over this survey or poll or questionnaire that I did last year, and I've done once before a long time ago, and I decided I'm going to try to make it an annual survey or an annual poll of curl users, curl and libcurl users, to see what we're using, how we're using it, and what we think about curl and curl's future and curl's past and features and so on. So I'm going to work on making another round of that survey again. We had it in June last year, and I figured I'd like to have it slightly earlier this year, just to not get too close to summer, but sometime in May perhaps. So I'm going to post some kind of I'm going to post a question on the mailing list and see if people have more ideas around questions for this questionnaire survey, and see what we want to know and how we can use this to kind of get better and improve. I tried to really use a lot of the input from last year's version, and I think the best outcome from the last year's survey was the kind of reignited emphasis and focus on improving the documentation that I did and had after a while after that survey. Like I split up the man pages into several different, standalone man pages for all the options for several of those libcurl options. So we kind of got over 200 new man pages out of it and so on. I don't think we're not done improving the documentation. I think we're still having a problem with documentation because we have a massive amount, so it's hard to find your way in the documentation. We have more of the style of reference documentation, not that much tutorial documentation. So if you really never used curl or libcurl, it's hard to figure out where to start and what do I use to do what. It's not easily answered in the documentation. But if you want to know, I want to do exactly this, how do I do it? Then you can find it. You can pretty much just Google it and you'll find the reference stuff. So I'm just saying that I think the survey helped us quite a lot last year. I'm thinking it'll help us even more to do it annually, to repeat it, so we can see, maybe we could get some kind of angle for different questions and see how we're developing and how we're doing in different areas. Hopefully we could, perhaps. if we get traction, if we get people to respond and so on. We have 2 pending security fixes for the next release. I'm behind, so I'm not really comfortable with either one of them. I mean, the situation in which we have fixes and so on, so I'm really gonna have to focus on those 2. That's kind of more of a reminder for myself. Yeah, you there, me there. I need to just put everything on hold for a while and make sure that I focus on those security fixes so that I can have the advisories done and the patch and good patches done by Wednesday. I would really hate to do a release without fixing known security problems, even if the audience, or I mean the public, won't know about the flaws, of course, until we release them. But I would hate to do release and have to do them later. There are also apparently at least 1 regression right now, so I would like to have that fixed too. But yeah, I can use your help, as you can hear. I think I mentioned before, right, that we were moving the bug tracker to GitHub from SourceForge for curl. This is pretty much a curl episode, all curl. So previously we've used the SourceForge bug tracker, and we've used it for I think like 15 years or so. We created the SourceForge project in very late 99, I believe. And since then we've been using the SourceForge bug tracker. It's never been good. I've never really liked it, but it's been sufficiently good. We've stuck around. So, and we moved away pretty much all other services off to other sites than SourceForge, but the bug tracker we've had there until now. So we're moving away completely to GitHub for issues and for pull requests too. So I'm now disabled the ability to create new bug reports on SourceForge, and you should not even be able to comment on existing bug reports on SourceForge unless you're a developer, which is pretty much you have to have a special status within the curl project on SourceForge to be able to do those comments. So I can do it and others can do it, but the general public can't. So I'm just pushing and hoping that everyone will now go to GitHub to do that. I'm not suggesting that the GitHub one is a lot better than the SourceForge one. The GitHub bug tracker is also very simple, but it makes things easier to have them on the same site as the code, and I would also say that it is actually a bit more slick and nice. The SourceForge one was always a bit of a clunky and inconvenient and so on, and people don't really have SourceForge accounts anymore either. So it's a bit of a the site of the last decade and not of this decade. So GitHub is clearly the kind of the modern way, the things, the way the kids do it, and I want to be where the people are. So why not just switch everything to GitHub? It's not that we're that married into the particular bug tracker system anyway. So if this turns out to be a problem, we'll just transition over to something else. We will continually transition between tools and sites and whatever that suits us for the moment. I mean, we've been around for a while. I think we'll be around for a while longer, and these sites and services, they come and go, and we'll just adapt and adjust and move over to whatever we need. I try to update all the documentation in the Git repo and on the website and everything to point out to the Git issue tracker and not mention the SourceForge one anymore. But now you know. So file your bugs in the bug tracker on GitHub. On fun Firefox hacking stuff, I'm of course always on the look for interesting content length and of HTTP 1.1 contents in the downloads. You know, my old 237623 bug. And of course I was hit in the head just yesterday. It turns out that the Lancet.com doesn't render fine on current Firefox Nightly. I believe even Firefox Beta 39 and 40 right now. They don't render nicely because a CSS file is cut off, and that's because blah blah blah. They don't actually terminate the gzip stream nicely. And I won't go into the details, but you know, I've been fighting these, how to detect the proper end of some of this the best way. So I decided to, if the gzip stream doesn't end with a proper trailer, we consider it a partial transfer. And these sites, they don't end nicely, but they end anyway. And it turns out that some of these sites are fairly big sites, and it turns out that there are more than just a few of these two. I don't even remember the name of the server software, but I could find other servers using the same software, and they all expose the same, the problem the same way. So I'm back to adjusting that that line of code in Firefox, and I have some other Firefox debugging that I'm working on. I haven't really grabbed any new big stuff in Firefox recently, but I'm kind of in the process of doing so. Turned out to be a long episode this week as well. This is end of episode 28. Have a good week, everyone, and help me out with curl stuff. I'm behind, and we have a lot of stuff to do. I have a fun thing to show you next week, I think. Bye.